Welcome to another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 35-year-old, a 35-year-old from Ketchum, Idaho, USA. His hockey journey has taken him to the USA, Canada, and Germany. A staple with the Colorado College Tigers during his 14 pro seasons, or 14 Profi ice hockey spielen. To date has laced up for over 300 East Coast hockey games and 40 AHL matches. Not sure if he realized he could get his German pass at that point. He has since spread his hockey wings in Deutschland, first with the Fishtown Penguins of Bremerhaven in the Zweite Bundesliga, my old honey hole. And then in the DL, where he became an actual Deutsche Meister of the actual first league, folks, not like me, not a second leaguer, with the Adler Manheims. That's the Eagles. And he just finished his first season with one of the Shed's honey holes, the Straubing Tigers, as a +12. Welcome to the Shed, Cody Lampl.
What an intro. It's going to be hard to follow. I like it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, I get into how we know each other. We have never met, so thank you for making the time for me.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, you always see things like on social media pages pop up. You popped up for a while. It's funny. Then I just Moose Maxey, I guess, is our equipment manager.
Do you call him Moose?
Well, they call him Moose here. It's a strange thing for me to call him Moose because everybody in Straubing calls him Moose because he's just a monster of a guy. He's just a moose of a man.
Yeah.
And biggest guy on our team.
Is the equipment manager.
Exactly. But he was my equipment manager in Utah, I think maybe 11 seasons ago, and we all called him Maxie. So it was a very strange transition for me.
So you hadn't seen him for 11 years, and then he becomes your equipment guy in Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Huh. That's wild. So that is when I know. So that's why, folks, if people share that when they come into the Shed, if they share their shit, it really helps me out because Maxie or Moose shared his. And then I saw you see it and I'm like, huh, look at that beard. That guy looks like a hockey guy. I would talk to him.
Yeah. Still, you know what? Just hanging on. I'm a hockey guy though, for sure.
And then since I started following your stuff, you did just re-sign with the Straubing Tigers, eh?
I did. They're going to have to kick me out of hockey.
You're only 35, man. You got lots of years left.
I'm 36 next month though. So, it's
coming to an end.
Pretty fortunate somebody playing. And if anybody watches me play, I wish I was one of those guys that could, hang on the half wall like you and score some goals and things like that. But I play a little bit more of guys always joke that I don't need, why am I looking at my stick so much? All I need is new shoulder pads, so.
I could tell when the research team got hot, it didn't take long to figure out you weren't the same type of player as me.
Yeah.
So I was going to get into some of your pictures for the poster here. Okay.
Sure.
So when I saw you played for Idaho, I have it written down here. So this is kind of how I knew you weren't a goal scorer. With Idaho, you played 97 games with the Steelheads. We'll get into that, but you scored 1 goal. So yeah. But you kept moving up the hockey world, and I bet you, you are a penalty kill specialist. I bet you block a ton of shots because I was looking at your pictures and I couldn't tell if you were tongues out or if those are the shot blocker things.
I have a flap sewn to my shin pads.
Block shots.
Yeah, so it's a shot blocker. Yeah, but they're actually sewn onto my shin pads. So a lot of guys
are they flopping around? They look like they were floppy.
No, they're a little bit, but they don't move because they're just a nice piece of leather, like sewn right on your shin pads. Nash actually makes them. Nash Sportswear in Canada, and they've been on my shin pads now for maybe the last 7 years. So it's
so that's not something the Moose sewed on for you. They were
no, it's not. You know what? Actually, a saddle maker in Idaho sewed them on for me one off season, and I've had them do 2 pairs, and and then I had a saddle maker in Manheim, had to kind of re-sew them on there. So those guys, they do the best leather work. Oh yeah,
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I remember when Germany tried to make us wear the shot blockers, and I'm like, they suck. I can't They didn't
No,
feel
well, because
right.
you can't,
Skating didn't
you
feel
can't
right.
turn, you can't turn though, because every time you try to take like a tight edge, they
I,
bottom
and
out
I like to
plastic, all of a
shimmy
sudden you
and
go,
shake. Yeah, I
yeah,
like to get you into
exactly.
the
Yeah, you go
corners and
sliding
then
out.
throw a reverse hit and then shimmy and shake. You know,
Yeah.
can't
Yep.
do that with those things.
Can't do that. Can't do that. But who wants it? Who wants, you know what? I suffered from lace bite long enough, and I don't need to be getting shots and pucks in the middle of my like where I bend area, you know, in the crease.
That's when it really hurts, eh? Right where you
And
bend your
plus,
ankle. Yeah, they dig
exactly.
right in there when you block one there.
I throw a lot of heavy, you know, two-hand slash stuff like that on the top of guys' feet and shit like that. So I
You're
don't
one of
need,
those
I don't,
guys.
yeah. So yeah, of course, use everything you have.
I agree. So how do you feel about the reffing in Germany so far?
Well, I just think, I mean, well, obviously the reffing, I mean, it's not the best, you know, it's, but it, you know, it's tough, but I think it's hockey as a whole though. I think, you know, now you're taught to almost put yourself in a vulnerable position. So, you know, I think it's kind of,
they don't protect themselves anymore. And then when someone gets blown up, they're like, well, that's a suspension. I'm like, well, no, the guy had his head down.
And that's everywhere. That's everywhere. Now, like before you were taught like, hey, don't turn, don't duck, don't do that. And now, you know, you're told you can do anything without any sort of repercussion. And it's good on you because you're a power play guy and you get to go out there and score, you know?
Yeah, I do know.
That's how,
so
you know?
Germany was always kind of like that though. And I'm picturing you throwing some massive body checks. I remember in Germany, every time somebody would get hit really hard, it was a penalty for like hitting too hard. They'd call it something.
Yeah.
Still happening then?
What's that?
Is that still happening over there?
Yeah, it's still happening. But I think the biggest thing is just the fans. Anytime anyone touches the ice, the fans are just up in arms.
And the fans can call penalties in those leagues.
And make such a scene. But it really just depends on the night. Like some nights you'll have, you know, it'll be a really good hard game, big hits thrown. And I think another thing, it depends on the players too. You see players dive all the time. You see some teams have players that dive all the time and they try and sell stuff. And then you have other teams that don't. And the teams that don't, you really have good games and good hard games. And I think Germany, I mean, I watch highlights in Sweden and I'd be arrested in Sweden. If I were to go try and play in Sweden, I'd be arrested there because I watch things that happen in Sweden on like highlight things and I just shake my head that it's just,
is it
it's
like diving and shit or what?
No, it's just, I mean, it's the fact that they lay down, but just they go and review things and still make these penalties. So it's just the way things are called there, what suspensions are. And, you know, but I think Germany is the closest to the North American game that
outside
as
of the
opposed
UK,
to overseas game, you know, so
maybe not the UK though, because they're basically like North American.
Yeah. Well, you could, right.
You'd fit right in there if you ever want to get your MBA before you shut her down, you know, but you got a German pass. So
yeah, exactly. That was,
you're the type of player you are. I bet you would fit right in the UK league. But yeah, so you're in Germany and you got your German pass. So when did you find out you could get your German pass?
Basically, when I went to, I was actually gonna call it a career. I just had back surgery, so my year in St. John's, I was just battling through probably from December an injury, and I was gonna. So then I finally got my back done in July. So I was 29 at the time, and or was I 29? No, maybe I was like 20. Yeah, I don't know. It was earlier than that, maybe. But anyway, I ended up going back to the East Coast League for starting November and play the year, and I thought that was going to be done. I had a guy, Matt Zaba, who is now my business partner. He was just getting done with a career. He was going to have hip surgery. He was playing in Europe, a goalie, and he's like, "Hey, Lamps, I'm done. I see that you're doing hockey coaching and doing like skill development stuff and all that. I'd like to partner up with you." I said, "Okay, that's perfect. I think I'm going to be done. This is my last year." And then all of a sudden I got a phone call from Bremerhaven, from Fishtown Penguins. And they said, "Come on over here." I said, I don't know. And they said, "Oh, I think you have some German heritage." I was going to go over as an import, and they were in the second league at the time. I was like, "I don't know. It's not really for me. We have a young kid. We have another kid on the way. I would have liked to do that when I was single, whatever, you know." And then my wife said, "No, we're going. I don't care. We're going." And
now look, you're still there.
And still there. And I don't know if we're going to move back. Like, I mean,
All right. So, can du sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch?
No, no, I'm missing.
Do you feel it in the DEL? When you play in the second league, you learn a little more German because there's less imports, right? You kind of get forced into it.
Yeah, you definitely do. And it's crazy. My kids, they go to full-blown German school. They are assimilated. I mean, they've been over here 7 years now, and the ones that are like
they'd be full fluent.
They speak. Oh yeah, full fluent. They speak. That's third grade, first grade, and got a young one. It's embarrassing actually. I mean, I understand and can speak a little bit, but for being over this long, it's a little bit embarrassing. Yeah.
It's weird though, because like when I went over there, you don't know if you're going for 1 year, you don't know if you're going for 6 years, like I went for. Is after the first year, you're like, maybe I should try. I'm re-signing, I'm coming back. And life really is a lot more fun and easier when you can speak the language and like you can move around and chit chat. And by the end, I was good enough. I canceled my cable and internet all in German.
Yeah. So
on the phone, I was proud of that.
I mean, that's impressive. That's impressive. I always ask, for the kids to kind of speak with me at home and do things like that. And they still do, like they're on the phone with it, but
it's frustrating.
But they don't speak any other English. So it's like, if I don't speak with them here, then,
right.
Who's speaking English with them. So
and they need to learn that. Yeah,
exactly. So but it's something I'm definitely going to focus on more now that all the kids are in school and I got a little bit more time on my hands. So
what did you say about not moving back though? You said you might.
No, just Elliot. You know what? My wife wants to stay over here so bad.
It is nice over there.
It's just such a. We have a camper over here. We have a camper van. Like we go on the weekends. Oh yeah, any off day we hop in the. We have like a 7.3 meter camper. We go take off. It's just
really
we're living life over here. Yeah, we've been now.
So, what are your best trips you've done in the camper?
Oh man, Switzerland, Austria.
Quite the drives, through there. The mountains.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and
wild.
These campsites are unbelievable. And just like I said, we go up the mountain. We'll go up just for the night. Go stay at a ski. We go like Kitzbühel. Go stay in the parking lot of the mountain there. Go skiing that one day, then come back the next. I mean, it's just. So
you're living. You're living.
We're living. Yeah,
There's a lot of guys that go over there and really don't do anything. They sit in their apartments and watch TV, right?
I got no choice. We got 3 kids. Like this is their life. So what are you gonna do?
You got to show them shit.
You got to get out, do everything, and that's why we came over here in the first place, is to make sure that they see everything as they can. And I mean, obviously, they've done a lot better job than me because they go to German school and all they do is speak German. So
what ages are they? You got 3 of them?
Yeah, so I got 9. So I got 9 and a half. Going to be 7 here in a month, and then a 2.5-year-old boy.
Okay, and any hockey being played? Are the first 2 girls?
2 girls are playing hockey. They're doing a little bit of golf. One does soccer, the other does hip hop dance. So just they're in activities, and we stay. So the thing is, school doesn't get done here until July 30th. So we don't come back for the summers. We're here all year round. I've been back to the States in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So how does that work then? Okay. So then I'm ready to transition. I'm ready to transition. Okay. I'm ready to transition into mountain high hockey and your business partner. Zaba, you said?
Yeah, Matt Zaba.
Zaba. So anyways, if you're in Germany, how are you running a skills development in Colorado?
That's a good question. So
you're not pulling your weight in this partnership, are you?
Not pulling my weight whatsoever. And you know what? The only reason why I didn't go back, last 2 years, there wasn't even allowed ice in Colorado during the time because of the pen. So I didn't go back. We ended up doing we normally run our big camps in the summertime. And then I do like lessons and stuff, skating lessons, all this stuff, like, in the summers. And since COVID hit and all that, just didn't really make sense for me to go back. This is kind of the first year that the camps are going to be run by guys that work for us, and our goalie camps still go off every day. And Zab's, I mean, he works with Tri-City Storm. He works with every youth program in Colorado. I mean, he just is such a grinder, and on the goalie side. So the player side is kind of taking a little bit of a back seat.
Yeah.
But soon.
But yeah, and event like hockey doesn't last forever, right? And I'm assuming you guys would probably be heading that way more than likely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how, like, it's interesting how small the hockey world is, because like I put a the picture up of you and say confirmed shed guy or whatever. Then I go watch a minor hockey game in town or a hockey game, and the guy's like, how do you know him? He's into skills development. I watch all his stuff. So there's a guy here in Kincardine that's been watching your skills development. Quiller.
All right. Tell him we've been lacking on the YouTube there, and we're gonna start putting out some more videos soon.
Sounds good. And you're another guy. You're at least like the fifth guy that worries me. You might make the shed legitimate because you have a blue check mark beside your name. What does that mean?
No idea.
How do you didn't do anything to get it?
No, I think when I played for one of the teams over here, social media guys would get that because people would pop up and kind of like make accounts of you. Yeah, pretend to be you.
That's great. Because in Germany, this is my story. I got to tell one. In Germany, I had a guy pretend to be me. I didn't have Facebook. I fought the good fight. I did not want to be on social media at all. And I did not have a Facebook account until a guy said to me, one of my teammates says, a guy on the other team's wondering why you're asking to be everybody's friend. They're like, they don't know you. And I'm like, what? And I check it out. And this guy's friends with like every hockey guy in the world. And it wasn't me. And he had pictures of me up playing hockey, pretending to be me. It creeped me right out. It took me over a year to kick that guy off of Facebook. I had to get an account just to get rid of him.
Yeah. So that's exactly why they do it. And so the teams and the league kind of make sure that you get, if you want to, or whatever, like they just kind of they're like, what's your email? You're verified, done deal. And then it's,
that's good. They do that. Cause man, I was creeped right out when I was in Germany, and there was someone like, he was putting on there, like, I'm here tonight. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Okay. So back to your poster pictures. Okay. You won at home with Manheim. Were you at home? Cause there was the stuff all over the ice. So winning at home would be fun, eh?
It was unbelievable. It was overtime game too. Against Munich, against Red Bull.
Oh dear.
And they had just won 3 in a row. We just had an unbelievable game 5 actually.
Of a best of 7?
Best of 7. But
in the second league of Germany, it makes sense. You play a best of 5 in the finals. You play best of 7s till you get to the finals, and then they switch it to a best of 5 because that makes a lot of sense, Germany.
Really?
Yeah.
Really
makes no sense.
So, but now because of like the way it works out, our playoffs are actually just best of 5 this year, but only because the Olympic break and like COVID suspended games that they didn't want the season to go.
Well, at least they're
longer.
having series, but okay. So it was a best of 7, and you won a game 5. So you won it quite handily.
Quite handily, but you know what? Each game was a grind, and they actually came back from 3-1 and 4-2 to force overtime. And so it was kind of like, I don't know if we don't get that game, it's momentum's definitely going the other way. So it was in game 5, but it wasn't so handily, I wouldn't say, you know what I mean? So it was a tough series.
Well, I guess I also beat Munich to become a Deutsche Meister too, but it was in the second league and they weren't Red Bull. So
where were you? Were you in Ravensburg?
No, beating Heim Steelers for 4 years. I won it my first year there. Then we were supposed to move up. And then that's when like Porsche was pretty well going tits up at the time. So they were our big sponsor. They said no to the money and moving up. I had already resigned. Then the next year I hurt my knee, budget goes down, and then we suck in beating Heim for years. Now they're good again though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're in the DL,
up,
right?
So
yeah.
They just got up. This was the first year. Yeah,
well, it was supposed to happen in 2009, but no, I was with Landsup before that. And then
so you were close. So you were close. So you were close to, and you were in Heilbronn. Okay. So you were close to here and you were close to Manheim. So
exactly. So I've skated in Manheim with Heilbronn. Our training camp was in Manheim. That's quite the facility, eh? You were on a real team.
Unbelievable facility. And they just like the year or the summer before I got there, they just put like couple million into the locker room again. Like, and it's a new building. I mean, the money they spend there is ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, it is ridiculous. That I think we were just on the practice rink, but my goodness, like,
Yeah.
they really do her up there. And then they have that
Yeah,
academy, right, where they're just breeding hockey players now.
They are. I had some unbelievable. Every year I had a young stud on the team, like Moritz Seider one year, Tim Stutzel the next year. I mean, it was just great. They're just breeding them.
Yeah, well, the young Germans are doing well. Okay, so you won it at home in overtime. Who scores that goal?
Thomas Larkin. So an
nice
Italian,
goal?
yeah, nice goal. Yeah, nice goal. Italian, American, British. He holds like 4 passports. This guy. He's
international man of mystery.
Yeah, exactly. He's like Jason Bourne. This guy. Nice goal. Little like little give and go, pop back. Like he's a D-man, kind of fake, like he was going to go down. Gave puck the corner, pop back out to the to basically like top of the circle.
One-timer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a totally different game on the big ice, eh? Like when you watch the NHL games and how fast everything's moving, like the big ice is a lot different.
I think they're going to shrink. The ice here.
They should.
They already did in Shawinigan. They shrunk the ice, and I think because IHF is going to smaller ice, they're going to do the same thing.
Oh, they're going to smaller ice.
5 more years.
Yeah.
5 more years.
Okay. Next question about the poster then is there's a beer of you with your face on.
There is.
What's that?
Yeah. So I did a tattoo graph. So I probably have like 300 hours of tattoo work on my body. So it's always
300 hours.
300 hours, my whole body.
Yeah,
you know,
you're covered.
So covered. So it's always a big topic here. So when I got to Manheim, you know how you have like did you ever have like individual jersey sponsors? You know,
I had a meat sponsor. The guy gave me free meat.
Okay, so you had a meat sponsor, and when I go to Manheim, I'm thinking I'm going to like, you know, the New York Yankees, a professional, shave your beard, do all that, you know, like most professional. So anyway, they loved like the personality and let me be myself, which was amazing.
That's awesome.
And after my first year, they got approached by a tattoo shop for a jersey sponsor on my jersey. And I said, well, how does a tattoo shop afford a jersey sponsor on this? And they're actually a wholesale. They also wholesale all like jewelry for piercing. So like any shop that also like they're like one of the original tattoo shops in Mannheim or in Germany, but they're also, then they do wholesale like needle supply, piercing jewelry and all this. And that's where they make the majority of their money from the wholesale stuff.
So they're a big company in the tattoo world.
So they have like a big company behind them, but it's still like, you know, small shop or whatever, so it's a little bit of both. So anyway, people in Mannheim are so nuts and so crazy that they set up a tattoo graph where I would tattoo my autograph on people that wanted it.
Like a bunch of people. So it wasn't just one person.
There was like, end up being like 75 people that want to do it. I end up for some odd reason, just happened to be this number I wear 32. I tattooed 32 people that night. And
you tattooed your autograph 32 times.
32 Germans. And
just so you know, I think it's really cool that a guy said he was going to get a 2 Ales and Hockey Tales tattoo. And I think that's awesome. So shout out to you. That'll be the only one in the world where that happens. And that's really cool.
Yeah. So, and not only that, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, I'm not a tattooer. Yeah, I'm a tattoo collector. Do this, know this. And they're like, the shop's like, and even like some artists who I really respect, so I'm like, man, they're like, do this. Think about if like Mike Ness or Bruce Dickinson was like, hey, I'll give you a tattoo. I'm like, yeah, I would get it. But I also am like, like those are my like musical legends and I'm this. And like some of these people, it was their first tattoos ever. And
they're getting your autograph
on the forearm, on the wrist, on their ankle, nothing else around it. So it was insanity. The team, it was such like a surreal feeling. I was never been more nervous in my life, but then it was like the team like also pushed it too. So it was just it was
what year of this in Manheim? Is this your first year?
This would have been this would be my second year there. This would have been like a month or two before the pandemic hit. So it would have been like maybe January of that 2020, 2020?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
It was wild.
I've heard of like there were guys in Cardiff that like they would say like they would get a tattoo or you could tattoo your autograph on them, but that was one person, not like 32 of them lining up.
It was insane. We had to turn away. I had to play Cologne the next day. I tattooed from like maybe 5:30 p.m. until like close to like probably 11:30. Because
how long does one tattoo of doing your autograph take?
Well, it doesn't take that long, but there's only 3 stations there. So like we'd have a guy breaking down, like we'd have the tattooers that work there, like breaking down and setting up each station. So I could come in, glove up, attach a machine, placement, stencil placement, whatever on there,
I don't know anything about tattoos. I have never got one.
But that was the biggest thing is that like breaking down and setting up each station to make it sanitary is like the longest part of it, So make
not
sure
the actual tattooing.
Yeah. Plus like you have to, everyone has to fill out their forms. Everyone has to do that. It's just like
And so this was your sponsor helped set this up, and then
they
put it out there. Then people are like, I want it. I want that tattoo.
So they brought me the idea. I was like, I don't know. And I'm like, team highest seems like, yeah, they think this is amazing. I'm like, all right, I'm in it. And they the shop's called Trust Tattoo. And honestly, they're just probably the best people I've like encountered in my hockey experience. Just like, because the two passions, just like the sub counterculture that's there, and then got to like, and I think the fact that it intersected with Manheim was the coolest thing to me, because when you look at that organization, like all you think is like,
clean
cut, professional, and then there's me there,
all the fancy pants boys,
right. And then there's
all the genetic specimens, right. I know what you mean. And then there's you with the big beard, all the tattoos, and they embraced it. They let you be yourself. That's cool.
Exactly. Let me be myself. Like all the marketing they did, like all the guys were so jealous that the teams like do all this fun like marketing with me, because people want it that way. And it was just like, honestly, it was really cool.
That sounds like a day that you'd never forget, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So then what else do I got about your posters is then, so you do go skiing with your family. I saw the picture you guys skiing, but that's you're in the camper just cruising around living the life, eh?
Just anytime getting in the camper.
When did you get the camper?
Got the camper a couple of years ago. So
good idea. Years ago, really good idea with the kids and everything.
You know what? Well, we just, honestly, the team is like, we knew we need a second car kind of over here. And I was paying for, how the boys, like if you have gals over here, something like maybe like a couple guys you live next to, you pitch in and get like a second car, to like have your rink commuter basically. And, we ended up renting an RV, like, and going on an unbelievable Switzerland trip. And we're like, man, are we a camping family? Cause I think we are, like that. This is what we love to do. So then we looked into getting one, and we're like, man, this just makes so much sense to just have. And you know what, like, if anything, if we ever leave, we'll keep it at a friend's house, whatever, and it'll always be an excuse to come back.
Well, I couldn't imagine all the cool places you could go. Like I remember being in Manheim, and you'd take a trip down to the Bodensee, and or you go wherever, and you go to whatever that place in Italy was, Lago di Garda or something. Lake Garda.
Lake Garda. We just were there.
Oh man, those I felt like James Bond at that lake. We 100%. Rented a boat for the day, and you're cruising around with a little motorboat with your dog and your wife, and you're like, God, I feel like James Bond out here.
It's just too easy not to do it. And my wife and I was talking about it, like, if we had it, she's like, man, I wish that we were at the beginning again, because she's like, what would you do different? I'm like, well, right when we got here, I was like, I'd buy a Sprinter, honestly, build it out, and every day I'd be gone.
A Sprinter?
Especially like a Sprinter van, like a van, whatever. And every day, especially because we came over here in the second league, at first, and it was like, man, all the off time you have and free time, like I'd be everywhere.
Right. And it's weird because like for me, I was the youngest import over there when I went over there. Right. And by the end, I was one of the older ones. Like I was there most of my like 20s. I was in Germany, and to look back on it, I didn't appreciate what I was seeing, what I was doing. And if I could have gone back at say like your age or, in my 30s, I would have appreciated what I was doing a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd never been to Europe before. I'd never really traveled anywhere, just because hockey, like me being in Idaho, I always had to travel in the summertime to go try and, play for like a summer league team to actually get something competitive, because I'm playing B hockey my whole life growing up. So the summers was kind of like in between, like, little league baseball and baseball games, like was going up to Seattle and going to play hockey games when I was younger. So I didn't travel anywhere. And then, you never get the spring break because you got college playoffs during spring break. So you always miss that, and like never got any of that. So
what you're providing your kids with the memories and like what you guys are doing, it sounds like you guys are living.
Yeah, we're living. There's, like I said, we're living. And
so you're on a 1-year deal. You got one more year.
Yeah. So I just signed another year, kind of living year to year. And like I said, I was going to be ready to be done a couple years ago.
What do you think's next for you? I guess it'll be the skills development and getting into the hockey scene.
Yeah, it'll be the skill development for sure. And the hockey stuff back in Denver, probably for sure.
So you already know what you're wanting to do. So there's no anxiety that way, because she can get to you.
Well, I think the housing market's the anxiety part, because we don't own a place. So so that, I think that's the only anxiety that we have. Like, and we were
because it keeps going up. You keep thinking you're saving more, but it keeps going up what you're saving.
Like, I think I have to play until there's a top,
Yeah, no, and that's one thing my old man talked me into it when I was in Germany, was to get in and get a place. And we did. And then we had a guy rent out our basement. We had our Woody rented out our basement, and we did that setup for 6 years. He would rent it out, and then we'd live together in the summers, and then we'd leave. And yeah, it's tough, man, because it keeps going up. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think and the other, our families, my wife's from New York. Her parents live in New York and Florida. They're divorced there. My parents are in Idaho. Our place is in Denver. So when we're over here, we're like, I mean, do we just live over here because it's so easy, and it's none of our family lives together. So
right, but then once it's over, you're not. What are you like? But I guess you could do the skills development, not really have to. Yeah, you can do that much skill stuff over
here. My wife wants to open up a bakery, cafe. Like, I mean, it's just.
Does she have those skills? Because they got high-end bakeries over there.
And you should see. Of course, she has these skills. You should see this. This body.
Yeah,
see this body.
You got a good one. Do you know that in Germany, my nickname was Kugelblitz?
Oh, yeah.
You know what that means? Round lightning.
I like that.
That was until I hurt my knee, and then I was just Kugel. There's no more blitz. I was just round after.
Yeah.
Well, so she can like do it all, because those bakeries, they ruined me at Germany. You could tell me I'm walking to the rink anyways. I'm going to walk by 5 different bakeries that have fantastic little sandwiches, little croissants.
Yeah, little sandwiches and stuff. But you don't get good stuff that's sweet over here. She does like French pastries and like sweet things, I'm
not that really into that. I get my body through the meat and potatoes. I really just get too aggressive.
So Germany was the place for you, huh?
I ran amok in the food world over there, and with Manfred, the meat guy, giving me free meat. Yeah, it was a good time. Well, that'd be really cool. Whatever you guys decide to do when it's over. But like, yeah, we love Germany too. What a spot. Till I was asked not to come back. Then we didn't.
I'm just waiting for that call. You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds like you're doing just fine. And so I don't forget, because I always forget to talk about my stuff here, is this weekend, folks, until Sunday, we're having a Wally 15 sale on the website for all the different sweaters, shirts, hats, everything for sale. If you put in the code Wally 15, with capital Wally 15. You get 15% off everything till Sunday. And that's because my honey hole, the UK league's got their playoff weekend and the season will be done this weekend. So we're going to give a sale till Sunday when the season ends in the UK. Okay. Wally 15, folks. Swipe up. If I knew how to do that, I'd make you swipe up, but I don't know how to do any of that. Okay.
Welcome to the club.
So that magazine picture that you were holding for the poster, what's that?
That was one of the biggest tattoo magazine publication in Germany. So,
and you had all these tattoos before you went over there.
Yeah,
you were covered already.
Yeah. So covered, but I was covered. But I've been adding small pieces here and there. But no, I was covered before I came over here, and then was asked to do a spread it was actually the biggest publication in Germany, and I think they just moved to fully online, which was a pretty sad day, but anyway, it was, so I got to be in the last publication of the magazine, and it's like a magazine that I would buy when I got over to Germany like 7 years ago. Every month, like I would buy the,
because it'd be showing you all the different tattoos and everything. And you're into that. That's your passion.
Whenever I'd lose, like if you'd lose Magazine Boy, in a thing, and like you got to get like I don't make sure you get like a porno mag, a tattoo mag, a auto mechanic, magazine, and like whatever, for the locker room. So I'd always make sure that I put it in the locker room just so like, let everyone take a look.
Well, yeah. I think before we dive right into this is I'd like to know what all your tattoos are on you. Like what is the base? If you got the full body, there's got to be like some kind of a story to it. No?
Well, all my tattoos are pretty much the same style, which would be like American traditional, and then blending into like the neo-traditional style of tattooing. So that's like, that means every tattoo that I have has an outline, so you would say it looks like a tattoo as opposed to like something that's super realistic,
right?
Or something that's
it's its own tattoo with an outline of it.
Exact. Well, just the whole piece itself. So like my whole back, let's say, is American traditional piece. It's old school. It's bright and colorful, but it's a huge eagle, huge eagle with a boat underneath, roses down the side. So it's like a huge piece, but the whole piece in itself, everything on there has a black outline, and then it's colored from there because, it'll never lose its shape, its shape. It'll never bleed. It'll never run. It'll never, whatever, it's the whole thing with American traditional tattooing is if it's good enough for your grandpa, it's good enough for you. You know what I mean? That was like the saying in the shop. So
your back is an eagle, and you won the German championship with the Adler Manheim, which is the Eagles.
I did, but I also had to then get, because my two favorite things being a German American, I had to get another little eagle, but that eagle had to be holding a pretzel, because those are my two favorite things, so my German American roots. So like I have that, but like all my tattoos have like black outline, first, everything's then colored in. So that's like, that's like theme for, is like black outline,
what does that one say there? What does those words say?
Appreciate.
Appreciate.
It says appreciate, this is and all these, like I said, like neck, chest, all these, it's crazy to think, like I got teammates coming up and, like Stutzler was on my team. And I used to tell him, I was like, man, my tattoos are older than you, which is crazy to think about, like I started this journey getting tattooed at 16. And I was like, Timmy, like,
what was your first tattoo?
It was an Idaho on my shoulder blade, with two hockey sticks, the typical, Idaho, and it's built into the back piece now, but I was the first one from Idaho to go play Division I college hockey. So as soon as I committed, I got the Idaho with two hockey sticks on there. So back in, I committed, I think 2001, I think it would have been. So Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. We've really just been shooting the shit, and I got a whole bunch of notes here about your career we haven't even got to yet. So we should get into this Idaho thing. I've been there. I've been to Boise, and I tell you what a spot. And you played there 2 years. So here we go. Did you grow up in Ketchum, Idaho, or is that where you're born?
Nope. Grew up in Ketchum, Idaho. I was born in Pittsburgh. Moved out to Idaho in '94.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. That's good that they got. Okay, it says you're from Ketchum, Idaho. So then, how
I
big is
am.
that town?
It's a small ski town, so it's 6,500 people in the county. It's so and the counties or the county's Blaine County, but it's called Sun Valley, Idaho. So there's Sun Valley and Ketchum. It's the first chairlift in North America, America's first winter resort.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. So there's probably some.
So
Is it still a nice? Is it a nice ski hill? Like it's a big one?
oh it's Jackson Hole, Aspen, Sun Valley. I mean, those three are the three spots if you're talking like ski resorts in North America for sure.
So there's some cash around that area.
3 houses or 3 jobs. That's what we always said, you
know. Okay, so that's nice area then, where you're from. So how do you get into hockey, not skiing?
Yeah, so we skied too, and but I just, there's just things that you like more than other, and
you're better at them too, right? And it's more competitive. It's more you, right? Skiing's fun. I love it, but I need to get the competitive juices flowing.
And
right?
I had the passion for hockey before. So we moved to Idaho when I was, summer going into 3rd grade. So I'd already played. So that was kind of my passion before I went out there. And then I didn't start skiing until the next winter. So hockey was kind of already there. Groundwork was set. I was, Mario Lemieux was my hero, being a Penguins fan and everything like this. And
so Ketchum's got a minor hockey program.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's called Sun Valley Suns. And,
okay, and that's what you grew up playing.
It's actually got a senior A team that they play in like that Black Diamond Hockey League here, and it's just those guys were like my heroes growing up. But it's all like, when you look back on it now, I mean, it's not great hockey, but those guys are who I looked up to,
Well, for sure. Everybody needs people to look up to in their kids. Okay. So then, what else do I got? How far away is that from Boise then?
About 2:15, 2.5.
Okay. Cause that's, I had never been to Idaho. I didn't know anything about it. And then we played them in the finals with the Daytona Beach Bombers. And, I could not believe everybody had a smile on their face. Everybody was biking around. Everybody was sitting out on patios, just having a time. And I'm like, why is everybody in Boise, Idaho so goddamn happy? And then I saw it was sunny out every day. There were mountains. It was beautiful.
Everybody in all of Idaho's like this. Maybe not the northern tip, when you got maybe not like Coeur d'Alene area, not all Idahoans, but everywhere else. I'm telling you, it's
quite the spot.
Unbelievable place. It's unbelievable place.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, you grow up playing there then. So, like baseball, football, the normal American
everything.
sports.
Baseball, football, basketball. Yep. Everything.
You were doing it all?
Doing it all.
Okay. But you were good at hockey. So then how do you get from there to the USHL?
Yeah. So I actually was able to go to those USA hockey festivals, like when you start to be 14 or whatever, and you go try.
I don't know much about the USA minor.
All right. So you go whatever. It's called the USA hockey festivals. So,
but do you pay for that? Are your parents paying for that to get you into that? Or are you recruited to go there?
No, you don't. You might pay, but it's like $50 for the tryout or whatever. And then it's like, you have to pay to get there, but you don't pay for it. It's like USA hockey,
Okay.
So, so they do it for development basically. And then, so you have a state tryout, and then the state that you're in is only allotted based on signups, like a certain amount of spots then to go to your regional. And then once you go to regional, then they pick a team to go to the national.
So you
festival.
made it for Idaho.
And I made for Idaho. I think at each age group, they only do it for 4 age groups. So 14, 15, 16, 17. And we're only allotted 3 forwards, 1 defenseman, and 1 goalie. And then
you wouldn't get much out of Idaho, right?
You wouldn't get much because we don't have very many signups. So anyways, end up going there, going through, get a phone call from a AAA team in Dallas, actually. And they're like, hey, are you playing anywhere? I'm like, playing anywhere? No. Come on down to Dallas. I bet you'll love it here. And so that's where like the Ludwigs, Brad Cooper, like, Western. So, and ended up going down there and playing my midget hockey in Dallas.
Okay, so that's we've been chatting before, folks, was that I asked you if you had played with the Claxons, right? Matt and Chris Claxon, because I saw you had played with them in the USHL. And Matt Claxon, when he came to Western Michigan, I'm not joking. So, college is a different game. There's little buggers ripping around, skating way too fast, trying way too hard. Everybody's in phenomenal shape and they're just going 100 miles an hour. And then you bring in Matt Claxon, who was a tough guy in junior, right? I looked, the research team found the year he played with you had like 270 points or penalty minutes.
Tough as nails. Lefty. You'd hear him. He's got Mike Tyson voice. You'd hear him like behind the, like behind a wall. He'd talk shit like, who is this guy? And then all of a sudden nails. And he was as tough as they got in junior, and even in pro, like that's what he did. He went and fought. I
just found it so interesting that he came to college hockey, because if you're a fighter, there was no fighting. But that guy was scary in warm-ups, man. He would run into everybody.
And especially because his dad was tough as nails, Kim Claxton. And I think he was actually like a Gretzky protector when Gretzky was in Indy playing for the Racers. He's tough. But anyway, Matt Claxon, we played on a Mike team together before I moved out to Idaho. And then we end up coming back and playing then in Chicago for the Steel together. So in the USHL.
You were on a Mike where were you before Idaho again?
In Pittsburgh.
That's where he was from. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So we played for the Mount Lebanon Hornets.
And then, okay. Anyways, I got sidetracked there. But so you went to Dallas to play AAA in the Ludwigs, because I'm pretty sure when he came for a recruiting trip, I was one of the guys that took him out at Western Michigan. Tyler, was it? Trevor.
Tyler and Trevor. And I think they both maybe committed to Western, but then one ended up transferring to Providence.
And I don't know which one I would have had at the U Club. There's definitely one sitting on a patio with me at the U Club at Western Michigan. Yeah, because I remember the old man was the guy I would have watched growing up, him playing for the Stars, right?
Exactly. And he'd come out. He was our D coach. He had just retired. I think they were going through a little divorce. He was pretty wild back, pretty wild at the time there. He was a great guy though. Craig was an awesome guy. And Tyler and Trevor were great too. So.
Small world when you get shooting the shit in your shed. Anyway, so you get to the USHL from Dallas, then they see you there when you're playing AAA. So you move away from home at that point then to play AAA in Dallas.
Yeah.
So you live with a family?
Yeah. So I lived with a family, lived with I don't know, billionaire, but like probably billionaire. Honestly, lived with this family. It was a joke, because it was like, I'll never have a better lifestyle in my life. And I was like 16 building with a family. So I lived with them. I lived with the Millers, this guy, Austin Miller, the kid, and unbelievable, great guy. And his dad, just a single dad at the time, Doug Miller, who was an oil tycoon. And at the time they were trying to get him, they were courting him to try and buy the Stars, I think at the time, and doing all this. And I'm a kid from Idaho. So I'm like, what the fuck? Where am I right now? And it was just, hanging out with a couple, hanging out with the Ludwigs and Miller, who dads are in HL for this long, other dad's oil tycoon, all of a sudden this, and I'm just along for the ride, and there's no parental supervision whatsoever. And it was just it was an amazing time.
That would be
amazing time.
So you played well though, and you get the eyes then of where'd you start? The Sioux Falls Stampedes? Did you get drafted there, or do you?
No, so honestly, within 2 or 3 months of moving to Dallas, I signed a tender with Sioux Falls. So that's back when you could sign a tender where they could sign 3 guys or 2 guys, so they could forego the draft, they wouldn't be draft eligible.
Oh, so that means you're with them and you don't get drafted. You're there.
Exactly. So I signed a tender and then committed to college basically right after the Max tournament. So we went to the Max tournament in December, and as a 16-year-old, you
committed to Colorado College when you're playing AAA in Dallas?
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Because when I was going to NCAA, it seemed like there were still guys that were like 20-year-olds playing junior that were getting scholarships. There were guys that were at 18, 19. Now it seems like if you don't have a scholarship when you're like out of diapers, like you're not going to get one. It's weird.
And at the time it was definitely rare. Like that I went into junior already being committed, but it was one of those things where like they wanted to keep, they had a chance to keep a guy like west, out west. And I'd taken looks like in New Hampshire, like Boston College, other places. And or I had like interest from those schools and they kind of just, they end up throwing like an offer super early. And I didn't know anything. Honestly, it hit so fast. I wrote Middlebury, like a letter like the year before and no response or no anything. And then all of a sudden, like 6 months later, I'm like getting offers from like all these schools that that it was.
And this is all because you go to Dallas and you start.
Yeah, it was all just because I was playing midget AAA all of a sudden. Yeah.
So how big are you?
Small. I'm not very big. 5'10", 180.
You were then?
No. I was probably 5'6", 130.
You're only 5'10" right now?
Yeah.
Why did I think you were so big?
That's what everybody says. Thought you'd be bigger, like Dalton, my favorite movie.
I never looked at the height or weight. The research team didn't find it, but I was just going off tattoos and beards.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess also because you're not a goal scorer and you're getting recruited to all these schools, I just assumed you were big.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like I always just played a physical game and did that like this. But back then, like I scored a lot in midgets. Wasn't because my shot, but I mean, I've always been I've always been just like get the puck into get the puck into the forwards' hands, and then let them do the work. And then
I'd like playing with you.
and then I play a sound, hard game, and the biggest thing is how do I make sure that I have the tightest gap and I get the puck back to our team as fast as possible. I don't want to be playing defense. So
you sound exactly like what I would want as a D-man on the ice with me.
So I play aggressive, and I like I said, I just try to get the puck into the forwards in a good spot and as quick as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I always found, now that we're talking just hockey here, I always found that like it changes your whole shift if a D-man rims it to you, or if he passes it to you, say in stride, flying out of the zone. It changes everything about the whole shift. And it's just those little things that people don't pick up on watching hockey, is like one bad pass can fuck everything up for the whole shift.
Yeah, but and also more than that, I think like does the D-man give up the blue line, or does he shut it down?
Well, and tight gap, when you bring up tight gap, that's right. That's a big deal.
So you can pick it up already, and you don't have to skate an extra 100 feet, that you didn't have to skate when it was like not an odd man situation, and you shut it down, as opposed to like all of a sudden one D-man comes flying and has a stride on you already, so it turns it into an odd man situation. Like shut it down at the blue line. Use that blue line.
The blue line is a big thing. I remember when we played in Denmark, we would have the forwards back checking so hard that our D-men could step up at the blue line and just try and kill people, right? Because they knew that the forward is right in their pocket.
Yeah, I mean, like it's D-man, like if you got things coming 3-on-2, if you're not sliding over, like if forwards are gonna make bang, 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 3 passer, good on them. You know what I mean? But
you got to force them to do it though.
Yeah. Get in their face. Yeah. 100%.
I try, when I coach my under 11 kids, that's what I say to them. I'm like, hockey's easy when you have time. Hockey is hard when you don't have time. Get right up in their business, get your stick on the puck and get up in there,
Yeah. And I also tell too, it's like, what's the point of like playing hockey? Like you need to score goals. Like what's good defense? Good defense is making sure that you get the puck back. It's not just defending the goal. It's get the puck back.
It's brutal when you go out for a shift and you end up in your zone for like the whole time and you're like, that wasn't fun. Like,
no,
you want the puck.
No, get the puck back.
I feel like, if we were similar ages and we would have played hockey together, I would have really enjoyed being on the ice with you. Okay, better move on though. because you were in Sioux Falls then. So you go there and then you end up with the Danville Wings that same year. So what goes on there?
So we had a coach. You might coach, like, you know this guy Mark Kaufman at all?
Mark?
You ever heard of him?
No.
I think he was coaching in the coast fuck, who was the boardwalk bullies? What team was that?
Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. So yeah, right. So he coached in AC. And he all of a sudden like became the junior coach in Sioux Falls. So I had signed a tender with Tony Gasparini, and then he left or got fired, maybe, I don't know. Like one of the things. So this guy comes in, this guy has no clue, and apparently ended up being like a really good assistant coach at Ferris State. Like all the guys liked him and all this, but this is just my experience from junior hockey. Mm-hmm. He had no idea. We were like the worst team in the league, maybe like 1-20 or 1-22. And he calls me into his office, and I'm a senior in high school. Calls me into his office, he's like, you know, he has a real high pitched voice. He's like, Cody, you know, fucking traded you to Danville. He's like, you know, he's like, you're one of the lucky ones. You know, a team wants you. He's like, all these other guys, whatever. You know, I'm like, coach, like it's fucking November or like December. I'm a senior in high school. Like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, you're in fucking high school? You know, I'm like, yeah, I'm in high school. And he's like, and, you know, and he's like, you get to enjoy college next year. And I'm like, coach, if you just ask a question, like I was committed for like the year after. So I got one more year of junior. He's like, you got one more year of junior too? You know, so
he didn't even know.
No fucking clue. So I hop in a car, like call my dad. I'm like, Dad, I got traded. He's like, where you get traded? I'm like, I don't know, somewhere in Illinois. He's like, all right, well, have fun. I like drive fucking 12 hours in this snowstorm, 17, packed all my shit. Literally can't believe I made it there. Like, you know, just it was.
I remember getting sent down from like Syracuse to Dayton. I'm looking at the maps, like, okay, where the hell's Dayton? And you're doing that at 17.
Yeah, right. So I print off fucking Google Maps, hop in the car. It's just an absolute blizzard, like for probably 8 of the hours. Yeah, I end up in Danville. All right. End up in Danville. It's like a shit show of a town. Little shithole. And then when we you know, ended up whatever, it's fine. And I knew I was gonna play one. I knew I was playing Warrior Junior, and the team was like moving to Indianapolis afterward. And I just asked for a trade. I'm like, man, your guys' travel's brutal. Like it's the furthest east you could possibly be. Like it's possible to, you know, and the owner like it was just kind of like a rinky-dink organization. I was like, hey, you know, if possible, and you can get somebody for me, like, would you mind dealing me like at the draft or something? And end up getting traded to Chicago, and it was great.
Well, it takes a lot of pressure without that shit going on that you already have your scholarship, though, eh?
Yeah, I took none of it. Right, It was all I got to just experience.
If you don't have a scholarship and you show up at that team that's 1-20, and your coach doesn't give a shit about nobody, it sounds like, if he doesn't even know you got another year left and you already have a scholarship. Like, what were you doing as the coach that you don't know your players? That doesn't make sense. Well, that's
the thing. I don't think he knew anything, dude. But he came from the coast, you know, like as a coach. So, like, imagine you come to the coast, like you give all these guys all this freedom, all this, whatever. You can just like, you know, guys are just dropping like flies up, down, fucking, you're calling in like, you know, at the beginning of the year, you're cutting everybody because you have so many guys at camp. Then by mid fucking February, like you're asking a guy on team, like, hey, you got any brothers or friends or whatever, you know, to come join you, you know? So it's like, he knew nothing, you know, it's like, come to junior hockey and he knew nothing. But it, you know, it ended up being a funny story, funny experience. And it kind of like, it, you know, it hardened you, I think, a little bit too, like numbed out for like, hey, this is what pro is going to be like, you know? I mean, it's a business, it's a thing. Like, you're not going to get special treatment because you're here or there. Like, if they think they can get a couple players and build for the future, you know what I mean?
They're going to do it.
Yeah, like they were kind of in a rebuild, and he thought I wasn't going to be there next year. You know, he's like, so I got a couple of good young guys and some draft picks to build, you know, and whatever. I'm like, well, I was going to be here next year, but it's all good. I'll go somewhere else. No problem.
Okay, so then you ask for the trade from Danville, so you end up with the Chicago Steel, which would have been a good spot. And it looks to me like that's when you really come into your own. You had, like, I was talking about how defensive you are, but you can put up points when put in the position. And it sounds like you have the right mentality. You're like, yeah, I'll give it to the guys that have all the skill that score goals, right? And if you're on a power play, you just give it to them. So that year you got 22 points in the USHL. That's a lot.
that's the whole thing. Is like same thing like playing in pro too. Like I'm not a point getter, like not out there looking for it. I'm doing like dirty work. But yeah, if you put me in a position, like, we'll make plays and do that stuff or whatever's needed kind of thing,
Yeah.
So that's kind of been the career over here too, is that, like when I was in Bremerhaven, I was high scoring,
Yeah, you were
put in that position, whatever needed, be. And then when I'm on other teams and I'm asked to be more defensive or more of this, like, hey, that's what I'll do.
You're just a team guy, and whatever they ask you to do, you do it. And if you're in the second league and they need the import, or while you're waiting for your pass to play power play a bunch, you can do it. Yeah.
But it was crazy because
even in the DL, you're getting 30 points.
Well, that was the thing in the DL. Like, I think I led all Germans in scoring by D-man that year. And, as you could see, like, also was like had 120, 130 pips. Like that's what you wouldn't say that thing. So like, you're looking at this and like, I'm like, you're capable doing it when you're put in positions,
but that's how you end up in Manheim.
Yeah, exactly. And then you end up in Manheim. They're like, hey, we don't need you to put up 30 points. You're here to have some grit, some toughness, things that other Germans can't provide, but you can provide as a German, So I was like, perfect, let's go.
Let's do this. Yeah, no. And we just met and all, but I feel like I'm getting to know you. And that's why I love the shed so much. But every American, Canadian that goes over to Germany and you start out saying Bremerhaven or Landshut or Bietigheim or wherever, everybody's goal is basically to end up with Mannheim and now Munich Red Bull. Like, you want to get paid while you're playing hockey, right?
That was 100% the goal. Like I said, when I went over there, first of all, I knew nothing about German hockey. I said I got a call from Bremerhaven.
You learn quick though, don't you? I didn't know anything about the second league. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was a joke. I'm like, why would I go to the second league in Germany? It can't be good.
Well, same thing, but then you go out for like a 4-on-4 practice or a 3-on-3 practice before the season starts, and you get like psyched out with how skilled the guys are. You're like, I remember playing like, I'm like, I don't like what's going on here. And then a couple of guys like, man, just wait till like the real game starts and there's some hitting and stuff like this. And then there's, so
the skilled kids aren't as skilled then.
Right. But I remember like watching, like, man, there's a whole lot of skill over here. Like, what's going on? And then like, yeah. No, there's some good, but just wait until there's a puck race and they're going to start letting you have it. And I remember like in Bremerhaven, I had a couple guys that would legit ask me, because I practice hard too. That's how you got to do it. Like, not, obviously respectful of like, well, look at this, but when there's time to battle, I'm going to battle. And there'd be guys, older German guys would be like, hey,
can you ease up?
You think about maybe taking the option today? Like, Lamps, you don't need to practice today. Like, take the option today. Do that, like legit scared to death. So it was, it was just a funny experience, like, but it's great. And yeah, I wanted to be in Mannheim when I had the opportunity to, and
everybody wants to go there. And I say nice things to people, Michelle. I'm proud of you for doing that. You made it to the biggest team in Germany. And like, there's a lot of guys that go over there. And like, that's like when I went over there, my goal was like to make it to the DL, but make a career of hockey in Europe. And when you see, I found it interesting. I played an exhibition game against, say, Dusseldorf when they were a big budget team. And we played, I think, Mannheim. And it was with Hellbron. It was right around when I hurt my knee. But we played those teams. And I was on the ice with the players. And I'm like, shit, I fit in with these guys. Like, I'm as good as some of these guys. And then when I realized that they were making like 8 times the amount of money I was like, huh.
I honestly said, but that's the whole thing with anything. Like, if you think you don't fit in, then you don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you belong,
you gotta feel like you belong.
Like,
yeah,
right, 100%. And that's the whole thing. I think with guys, like, especially nowadays, how young kids
they feel like they belong.
So well.
Yeah,
how some kids play so well because they're so cocky.
Yeah,
and that they don't even give a shit, dude. They're like, I don't care. I'm not going to be hazed anymore. I'm not going to do this. Like, this is, think about like young kids and the way they're able to play. Like, if you didn't dump a puck in at the blue line like your first 3 years, you know what I mean? And it's like,
if you didn't get it deep at the blue line, you would not play a shift.
You're done.
And you played hockey that way. And now these guys will turn it over. You'll watch an NHL guy turn it over so bad they lose the game in overtime, and the next game they played just as much.
Yeah, but it is wild. Like you go to Bremerhaven and you're like playing with guys that like really had like a chip on their shoulder, kind of, and like D start, and then all of a sudden like you get into Manheim and you're playing with Stanley Cup champions, things like this, and it's just like a different mentality. You're like, all right, yeah. I could get used to this. Like I get used to this lifestyle, like this is but the hard thing is like, you got to remember, I think where people go wrong is like they start trying to compare themselves to someone else and be like, this is the reason why you're here is because they like your game specifically, so you got to play your game.
Well, and it's what you nailed it on the head, though. If you don't feel like you belong, then you don't belong, because it was like when I went to the AHL and I was like a small town kid from Elmira that never even thought he'd be close to the NHL. And then all of a sudden you're right there and you're like, look, I've seen that guy on TV. I've seen that guy on TV. Instead of being like, fuck, they asked you to be here, play your game.
So when you went to school, were you, because I saw like you dominated as like right away when you came into school, did you go in as a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old, or
no,
you were developed like, and that game just fit you?
I was ready to rock. I'd been junior B. I still have the record for most goals. I was just there. It's hilarious. So my junior team, I played for my hometown Elmira Shirt Kings. This last weekend, we went there on Sunday with the kids because they donated a jersey to me. I raffled it off. We made $300 for my buddy Kyle Rank and Friends of Hockey to help kids get into hockey and pay because it's too expensive. So I go there, we donate the $300, we give the big check, and then they post it on social media as Brian Walton instead of Brent. And I still have the record for most goals in the season, and they wrote my name wrong. So I thought that was pretty funny.
So when you came in, you were just high confidence.
I felt ready to get to college, but I was also very amped up to be there. I was excited to be there, and I was happy, and I was ready. And when I got there, I think my first month, like in preseason, the line they had me with was Pat Dwyer and Jeff Campbell, who were basically the last two rookies of the year in CCHA. And then there was me.
Okay, so that was a huge confidence boost. Like, right.
They were saying, like, even in like their press releases, they would be like, you should watch out for this kid. And I was like,
right. Okay.
I was like, really? You think so?
Because I think when I first got to school, like I just remember I deferred to the older guys, I think, right when I got there, you know what I mean? Which is a mistake, which it's not a mistake, like doing, but like when you're on the ice,
you got to go out and take it, right?
Right. You got to go out and take it. And I played hard. I did this, but there are certain plays that just like I wouldn't make, you know what I mean? And I think, you can defer to the guys in the lunch, like, be a freshman, like seen, not heard, you know what I mean? And do all that, but then still fucking pump your chest when you're on the ice, Well,
and my biggest thing in my career, I thought, was, speaking of that, was if I was going to Western Michigan, if I was going to Germany and playing with Brandon Dietrich, who was my high school, like my idol growing up. But like, the guys I would play with that I thought were like above me or better than me, if I was on their line with them, I would try and pass too much. I would try and pass it to them all the time instead of just being myself and playing my game.
Yeah, you defer. Yeah,
if I didn't know the person, I could adjust to who they were and how they played hockey, and I would play my game. And if it was someone that I looked up to, or like when I got to the AHL, I thought I had to pass to them right away, which makes
no, then that's how I was in midget, where it's funny you said, because the guy I lived with, he like was on this guy Austin Miller was on our team. He was like the stud defenseman there, and he was on our team for maybe the first 10 games, and I kind of always deferred to him. And then he all of a sudden went up to the Texas Tornado, to the junior team, and he didn't come back. And then all of a sudden it was like,
you're the guy.
All right, I'm the guy, let's go. Let's go. And all of a sudden, it was just different.
And then you got to believe in yourself, and you got to go do it. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
No, but So actually, speaking of college, then I guess we're there now. Are we in college now? Let's go to college now. We're going to run out of time here. Okay. Yeah. Colorado College. I think it's your freshman year because you played with Bruce. Trevor Frischman.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what a guy.
he's a former Shed guy.
Is he?
Yeah, he was
What a
on the
guy.
Daytona Beach Bombers with me. So when he would get called up or I would get sent down, we were going for each other usually, but he was like my best buddy on the team. And it was because he could skate fast and penalty kill. And I did my thing. So we were totally different players, but we were best friends that year. And yeah, it was interesting because we were the guys going up and down for each other.
I loved Frisch. And I think that was, at least at Colorado College, that was the last year, like their senior class was the last year that they actually had like 25 and 26-year-old seniors, you know, and now all of a sudden, so like that was the last class that I felt like when I came into school that I played with men, you know, like at college. And then all of a sudden they started going young and started doing this.
And is there not kids that are ready at different ages? Like what happened to these kids that are 2 years later that all of a sudden get bigger, stronger, faster, right?
I mean,
like,
you look at it this year. I mean, you look at the way Mankato's can beat Michigan in, you know, in college hockey, like all these first round, all these this, because they're just developed. They're men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're men playing against boys. I don't care how good you are. Like when you're 24, 25 and you're playing hockey, like it doesn't matter what your skill of this. So it's just, there's things that, you know, and there's heaviness that you play. And but
that's what
just
wins.
But just being around campus, though, it was nice. It was nice seeing those guys because they had an unbelievable, I was lucky, I had an unbelievable senior class. They kind of looked at me when I came, because I was, you know, I'm a punk rock kid, skateboarder. Like I hung out with everyone at the school. And I think it kind of opened their eyes. Like, have we maybe been doing this college thing a little bit wrong? Like sticking in our own bubble too much and not getting out and just fucking more the merrier. And, and I think, you know, that's the one thing I feel really good about, that like all the stuff that they taught me, I was able to kind of give them a little bit, you know, hey, like, don't get too comfortable over here at the hockey house. Like, get fucking weird. Go out and meet, you know, random, like happy accidents. You know what I mean? Go fuck with some people around, you know, like go meet everybody.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, you're right. It's like the Shed, and more the merrier. It's like, it's hockey fans, everybody, you know, you just talk to everybody, right?
Yeah.
So your senior class, I'm pretty sure then your freshman year is right around the time I'm up. I'm scoring quite a few points. I think I was fourth in the NCAA, and two of your teammates would have been ahead of me, and one of them won the Hobie. Two little punks like me, Marty Surdich and Sterling.
Two little punks that were so different on the ice, and they were like Surdy was unbelievable, just made everyone else better.
Perimeter player though, compared to Sterling.
Everyone else,
that guy went to the net like a maniac, and he was tiny.
That's the whole thing, is I never seen a guy want to score more than Sterls. And he went to the net, went to the hard areas, but then also he was the first guy I think I played with that like could score on like a snapshot from the blue line, you know, and just just that straight shot. Like you try to shoot those pucks, they end up like 5 feet over the net. And these things were just lasers, snapshots. But he just went to the net so hard and was just such a rat in front of the net, and just a guy that just wanted to score so bad.
And you can player, tell, though.
I mean, to put up 56 as a rookie in the American League, you know, like back, I think this was obviously maybe right after or right before the early lockout.
Was that when he was playing with Krog and Haydar or something?
He was. Yeah.
That's a good, nice way to start pro.
56. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I played roller hockey against him. That's how I knew him. I was a big roller hockey enthusiast.
Okay. So that's where the hands come from then, huh?
Yeah. Roller hockey really does help. I found it was, you think of the game differently. You open up different 2-on-1s, and I'm going to get my kid into it here soon here. He's getting into her this summer. So yeah. Roller hockey's awesome, but Sterling, that guy could score goals, man. Roller, ice, hell of a player. Then Surdich, the two of them together, quite the combo. But I did my best to keep up with them that year. Didn't work out. So other guys that were there in Colorado College. So you don't know who Kansi or Elfring are?
Yeah, of course I do. Those were guys on my visits. Those were
really?
So, when I went on my business, I was a 16-year-old guy. You know, Kansi was only a sophomore, maybe when I'm taking
What
my
a
visits,
beauty Kansi is.
So, and Kansi's best friend is our GM here in Straubing here is Jason Dunham. So Kansi, Stewie,
Mark
Pricing,
Stewart,
right? Like all these guys, like unbelievable guys. And we're guys that like, Kansi, right from he would always come back in the summer or come back for like a weekend. And we always gravitated toward each other because our social calendars lined up, so we always had a great time.
Me and him really have a great time together.
Yeah. And Kansi, he's now playing like he said now he's not because the kids are playing and he's a little bit banged up, but he was playing for like a Colorado team and he would go to Sun Valley and play in the men's league, because he was living in Vail there. So,
we had a great time when he came to the shed.
Yep.
Funny story about Mark Stewart. I've only met him once, but like, when you talk around, you got the same friends as like Frischman and Kansi. I went to Dennis Weidman's wedding and Mark Stewart was there and I hadn't met him, but I did wake up in his room fully clothed and he was naked in the bed beside me. We had a great time.
Sounds like Stewie. What a great guy.
Yeah, we had a great time. Okay. And then the other guy I saw research team found was Mike Testweed, because I found it interesting because I tried to go to the Asian League and he was one of those guys that got the South Korean passports. And there were a bunch of guys making a ton of money in Asia with their passports. And they were white boys.
Man, he made a ton. Yeah. 6'4" white boy, doesn't even get as much. Yeah,
Brock Radunsky, I played AAA spring hockey with him growing up. Brock Radunsky was 6'4", blonde, right, playing for South Korea.
Well, a redhead, Regan, there that's like playing for South Korea, and Weeder had an unbelievable career over there. I think he's fluent in Korean.
Really?
He went. I think so. He went to the Olympics. That's the whole play. Like he played the long game. He was over there, had a great career. Like they said, hey, we're going to host the Olympics here. If you stay, you'll be a part of it. Ended up going to the Olympics. I think right after the Olympics, he retired and called it a career. And now he's back in Vail, where his family, like
he's a Vail guy too.
He's a Vail guy. And not only is he a Vail guy, I think his parents are like a founding member of Vail. So he's like a real Vail guy.
Really?
Like a Vail guy you'd want to be adopted into his family. Yeah.
Well, he did just fine for himself as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Anyways, moving on then. So you're 4 years at Colorado College. What else? What do you got for the hockey side of things? Because I got your pro options. You went to Vegas your senior year. So, but it seemed like you didn't play that much in college, or were you hurt a bit, or what?
I missed a full year. I was actually suspended from school for a full year. So January to January. So I actually that's a story for another day.
I thought, okay. So
that's a story for another day. So like when I was actually playing my best hockey, I was actually suspended from school for a full year. And not only did they suspend me for a full year, they suspended me for the full calendar year. So like we were like backloaded that first year. So I only played, whatever, maybe 15 games
as
at one
freshman,
year.
Yeah.
Right. No, maybe it was junior. No, it was my junior. No. So freshman year, I just split 20 games. Like the other freshman D-men played Saturday or Friday nights, and I played Saturday nights. That's just how it was. Didn't matter how we played.
Really?
Dave Gannon played Fridays. I played Saturdays.
I find that stupid.
And it is stupid. And coach, but I was like, hey, why is it always this way? And he's like, do you think I'd ever let you play on a Friday night and give you the fucking weekend off? He's like, no chance. He's like, with your social calendar. So I always played Saturdays. We split. He played 20. I played 20. It was like maybe he played 16. I played 20. Like we split.
You would think it would be about how good you're playing, but that's just
you
me.
Would think it didn't matter. It literally didn't matter, and we didn't have any guys, no injuries, no nothing. So it literally stayed like that the whole year. And then I actually played, had a good sophomore year, play that way. And then I was having a good junior year and literally get suspended at Christmas. I'm suspended till the next Christmas. So you
missed the whole end of the season and the start of the next season. Then you jump into it mid-season, senior year.
But it was like, it was 3/4. We basically only played like a quarter of our games, that junior, in the front half, and then we're backloaded. And then basically it was the other way around the next year. So like we were front loaded and then we had no games on the back end. So it's like basically, yeah. But whatever, came back, jumped in, and hey, there it was.
Well, what'd you take at school?
History.
What do you do with that?
Fucking
nothing. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I wasn't there. I didn't care what I got. I was there.
Not one hockey player goes to NCAA hockey for the school.
Well, and every guy too, like every guy was an economics major, and I was like, I'm not a numbers guy. Like I'm like
Kansi's got his business now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm like, just give me the paper. I don't care. My parents, I was like, the only reason why I was here is because my dad was like, fuck, go to college. He's like, you ain't playing NHL, go to college.
Makes sense. That's what my parents said too.
Yeah.
And then we did. So your pro options then, the end of your senior year, then you've only played half a season. And so you do get 3 games with Las Vegas. You go.
Yeah. So I wasn't gonna.
I forgot to forget though. Colorado Springs is a fantastic place. I went there to play Colorado College, and I was like, holy shit. If they would have brought me here on a recruiting trip, look at this place. There's mountains. The arena's beautiful. The only thing was I was too fat for like the altitude.
No, it was an unbelievable place. It was a great place. But again, like the actual college itself, it's like a glorified prep school. You know what I mean? It's like
not much
people stick in their own bubble. It's like they're not even living in the real world. It's like 4 more years of mommy's money and, daddy's money. It's like no one ever got out into the town, and actually met people from Colorado Springs. I liked it. Like I said, I liked it, but I would have liked it anywhere. I like it everywhere. So, but
you had a good attitude. I like your attitude. Okay. Go. Okay. Las Vegas.
So I wasn't
3 games.
So it was the first year, like spring that, cause I didn't have an agent or anything like that. That was my biggest regret in hockey. Is that when I was in North America, I did not have an agent. I always thought agents come up and grab you and do this. So when I was playing North America, I didn't have an agent. So after school, I was like, I'm not playing. I basically called Boise myself, and I was like, hey, and they're like, hey, will you come here next year and be the first Idaho player to ever play in Boise? I was like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna leave and go play anywhere after school because I'm gonna just go on a 2-month bender, enjoy senior year. Like why would I leave to go to the East Coast League and do this? Like I'm gonna enjoy. I'm gonna go. I got a place to play next year anyway. I'm not gonna leave. And then Vegas got in like Brandon Straub was there, and I played with him at college. He was their tough guy in Vegas, and they just got in a huge scrap, bench clear with Alaska, and they had a few players suspended, and they were playing Alaska then like the next, and they had to bring in. So he's like, hey, Lamps, we just come in for the weekend, and this was like maybe 6-7 weeks after my season ended. He's like, hey, we just come in for the weekend. Like, we really need you, we're playing a tough team. We just had some bad shit with them. We got guys suspended. I'm like, all right, I'll come in there. I probably weighed like 145 pounds when I went in there. It's like on just a full blown 2-month bender at school.
Did you say 145 pounds? 145.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Skinny.
Yeah. Skinny. Skin and bones. It was fine. Doesn't change anything, but like it that's probably what I weighed like going in there, like because that's how much fun I was having like at the end of school.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you go there and play the 3 games. So that happens. Then the next year you do play.
So Glenn Gulletson was our coach. I was like, hey, I'll come in, play as long as you release me and you don't keep me on the roster, because I already made a commitment to Laxdal in Idaho that I'm going to go in there and do that. And so, yeah, so it was great. So I went in to Vegas, played for the weekend. It was nice. Like confirmed myself that like, all right, I'm good enough.
I can play in the coast. Yeah.
And that's like being so out of shape, being so small, whatever, and still like could play exactly the same way, even against men and do all that. So that was a nice jump,
Yeah. Well, it's good you get the exposure. Like I went to the AHL out of college, man, and I I was not even close to ready for it. I did not know
Yeah.
how big, strong they were going to be in the AHL, and then everybody was still fighting, and I was like, holy moly, that was an eye opener. Okay, your video just disappeared, by the way. Anyways, moving on. Your rookie year, though, you do play for the Idaho Steelheads, and we lost to them in the finals a couple of years earlier. I talked about, but what a spot to play hockey, and you're from Idaho.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was unbelievable. It was that was a dream, actually, because I'd always left Idaho every year, to go play, and then to be able to come back and live full time, and then have all the transplants from Sun Valley that moved to Boise or gone to school there and stayed there, or gotten other jobs and stayed there. It was, like we had guys living there, we had guys there like 4 or 5, 6 years, and immediately I'm in the dressing room and they're like, hey, what's going on tonight? What are we doing tonight? What do we do this tonight? So it's just like,
you knew people, you were at
it was
home.
It was a way as like a rookie that I really, it helped me fit in a lot because, like I said, I was the social planner,
I do know what you mean. You guys,
and we lost in the finals that year, so we had a great year. I think we had 50 wins. We lost in the finals that year. So
who'd you lose to?
Cincinnati
with Barrett Eggets.
Darnay. Jeremy Smith. Like they had 2 goalies that actually split the whatever MVP of the playoffs. They literally just went it was the first time I've ever seen this. Goalies just every other game. Just
I remember that team. Eggets is my buddy, and then Desharnais had his season there and then got out of the coast. Yeah, the hell of a squad. Okay, so that's who you lost to.
And Texas was in the Calder Cup final that year against Hershey. So we literally had it wasn't like we were loaded up. It was just our coast team going all the way to the final.
And that's what people wouldn't understand about the coast in the AHL is when the AHL team gets put out, there'll be guys trickle down, right?
So like Darnay, Van Gilder, all these guys straight from Milwaukee right to Cincinnati for their playoff run. And not only that, we didn't have our goalie. They took our goalie. So like Richard Bachman, who was our goalie all year, is backing up in Texas for their fucking playoff run. And
instead of playing for you guys.
And we went all the way through and, lost in the finals. And it was like our team was great, actually.
You had a couple guys I wrote down here. Mark Derlago played against him in Denmark. Unbelievable net front player. Guy, eh?
Oh man, he's maybe the best East Coast player I've ever played with. Like can't skate for shit, and never and probably didn't score until like his 15th game of the year because he came in so out of shape. And then all of a sudden would finish with like 90 points. So think about that pace, like after like probably getting in shape for the first 2 months.
Well, it's interesting, right? When you're in Europe and you see some of the numbers guys are putting up and you see Derlago and you're like, he's putting up 50 goals or something in the coast. And then he comes over and you're like, well, if I had video on him, I knew he's a net front guy on the power play. He's around the net. He's scoring goals around the net, right? Like he's not a speedster like in Europe. Sometimes what you need, right?
Yeah, right. Well, that's the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. And in Europe, like especially, I felt obviously that it was tougher to play. My 1 year in the second league was harder to play in than it was the DL because I'm not a one-on-one player. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like in those other leagues, that those guys that can really play one-on-one, cutbacks, this like really beat like 3 guys at once, like those are the guys that put up huge numbers. And I felt like it was just, when I got to DL, it was more
a team
North American style in terms of like you moved without the puck and, a guy's always open, because you're playing a system and everything like that,
I do know. That's why I was a second leaguer.
But dominating probably dominating.
No, that was just my game. There's a lot of one-on-one stuff and that sort of thing. Yeah. But anywho, it was a little honey hole there for a bit. Okay. So then you do your 2 years in Idaho and You do get an AHL game with Abbotsford though. So you're not just the local hometown discount guy with Idaho. You're getting an AHL game your second year.
Yeah. And it was
No
just
agent? No agent.
No agent.
You didn't
And
have an
that was
agent all the way through? Shut up.
No, the only year I had an agent, I got an agent one time and I was in the American League the whole year. Then I got back surgery, and the one agent I had just who got me to St. John's, the only time I ever had an agent, I couldn't get a hold of this fucking guy afterward. So then I didn't have an agent. And then, like I said, the one agent called me and said, hey, come to Europe. I didn't have an agent my whole North American career. And my dad, every single time we were on the phone, he's like, you call an agent yet? You call an agent? I'm like, Dad, I think they call you. I think they call you.
Well, I think that is how it works, but they never called me either. I never had an agent until it was my junior year of college. And I was up for like I got 50 points in college that year. And then the coach at Western Michigan like convinced me to not like take one until the end of the year. And like, I should think about it. I'm like, what is there to think about? Like, that's obviously the guy. But you don't get one. And then nobody's making calls for you. If nobody makes calls for you, nobody called anybody.
I got call-ups strictly based on teams finally calling the coach and being like, can we have this guy? That was it. Because I didn't have an agent my whole year. And I said, and it was crazy because all of a sudden, and we'll get to it. When we get to St. John's, I mean, I have a wild story for you that just like, you know, if you want to talk about confidence and like the difference between making it and not making it. But, you know, so yeah, I'm in Idaho, the 2-time, right? No agent, get a call up from a team, call and be like, hey, can we take this guy for the week or whatever? And then we had just a shit show of a coach in Idaho. And I was like, man, I got to get out of here. So I asked for a trade and ended up going to Utah. That's where I was with Maxie.
Yeah.
And
the Moose.
And loved it there. But before the season started, basically, or right when the season started, they had a trade. You know, in the coast, they'll do like a trade. They'll be like, hey, you know, we get this guy, but then at the end of the season, you can like pick from like our players, you know, to like basically complete the trade a year later, you know, like at the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
a player to be named later.
Exactly. So we got a guy like Derek Martin from and I played with him the whole season in Utah. And that's why I played with Lavecchio. So played with him the whole season, played with him there. And then all of a sudden the season was over. He's like, hey, Lamps, like we have to complete this trade. Like Toledo really wants you. Will you go? And I'm like, yeah, it's a good spot. Like, I'm like, because the coach wasn't going to be back next year. So I was like, oh, coach isn't going to be back. Like, I'll yeah, or whatever. Like, I was something like that. I was like, yeah, I'll go. Sure. And I was like, is it? And he's like, and I called Nick Vitucci. He was the coach at the time. He calls me. He says, hey, Lamps, like you play in this league now, you know, we want you, but we only want guys that want to come here. Like, do you want to come here? And I said, why wouldn't I want to come here? I'm like, you guys have a nice rink? He said, oh yeah, we have one of the nicest rink in the league. I'm like, oh, perfect. All right. I was like, I'll come.
Not the one I played in.
No, right. So they have a brand new rink. It's unbelievable, right? Wasn't the old across the river, right? Was it right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was something.
I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come. And apparently Toledo, because we had never done the crossover when I was playing in the coast until playoffs. So I'd never played in Toledo, never done any of this. And apparently Toledo was like pretty bad at the time, like ever since the new franchise came back as the Walleye. So they weren't very good. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. So fucking went to Toledo, best minor city I played in. Unbelievable, fuck, little bit greasy, but unbelievable rink, just like a minor hockey city, like where you want to be. And unbelievable marketing team, loved it. Like we won like the Brabham Cup, like regular season cup, like end up losing out in the playoff. Then after that, I finally an agent calls me. He says, hey, do you want to go to St. John's training camp? And he said, they actually wanted you last year, but you know, your coach said that you were going to go to Grand Rapids when St. John's called for you. He said, and it's because I ended up going to Grand Rapids. I was there for like maybe a week or week and a half, but I only played one game. I ended up getting like scratched the other games. Like, and I said, well, yeah, what do you mean St. John's College? He's like, yeah, they wanted you to go up and finish the season last year, but you
went to
your
Grand
coach said you
Rapids
were
for a
going
week.
to Grand Rapids instead. So we took another guy. I was like, oh, okay. Well, and he's like, they want you to come to camp. If you sign with me, I'll get you to camp here. I was like, okay, I'll sure. I don't have an agent, so I'll go up there. Well, I go up there and I wear number 32. It's like a, obscure. I wore 2 in Idaho, but then all of a sudden I get to Utah and 2 is retired. So I'm wearing 32 my whole pro career after that. And I look in the stall and it's like Lampl 32 up there. I'm like, oh shit, like maybe they do want me, like they did their research. They got my number. Let's go. So like I have like a good camp. And the equipment manager, Ethan or Cox, he's like, hey, I got good news and bad news. Lance, like, what's up? I'm like, what's the good news? The good news is I ordered you skates. I'm like, no shit. Like I made the team. He's like, yeah. And he's like, that doesn't happen that often. I was like, what's the bad news? He's like, hey, bad news is like, I'm going to keep you with 32. And I was like, bad news. I was like, why is that bad news? Like, you want to wear 32? I'm like, that's my number. Like, you didn't research. He's like, holy shit, that's your number. And it was a complete accident.
But it got you the juice. It got you the
I
confidence to get there.
I walked in there and I was like, man, these guys want me. I got number 32 in there. Like, walking around like I'm on the team already. Like I'm fucking, like.
And then you played like it, and then you made the team.
I played like it, and I stayed there the whole year, and basically only killed penalties like the whole year. It's like I don't even know how many 5-on-5 shifts I took. It was like I would sit on the bench the whole third period, and then all of a sudden they'd pull the goalie, and they'd be like, to tie it up, they'd be like, hey, Lamps, let's go. You're out. I'm like, what? I'm like, you don't trust me to play like the first 18 minutes, but then the last 2 minutes of the game, like I'm on the ice taking the face off.
Because they know you'll do anything for the team to help win.
But that was and then I'm like grinding through the whole year. And I thought I had like a blood clot in like my calf, like why is my lower leg just numb every day to start practice? It hurts so bad, like behind my knee. And finally, basically we lost in the Calder Cup final that year too.
Oh,
so we play all the way to like June 21st. We play after the NHL. And finally like the back or something like happens where, I can't control my bowels, so they're like, oh shit, like it's your back. Like it's not your leg, it's your back. So I get MRI back. So as soon as I'm like, but I'll grind it out. As soon as the season's over, I have back surgery. This agent that got me here, like literally I talked to him like one time. He's like, hey, I got you here. All right, great. And then I tried calling, like once I called him, I was like, hey, I'm going to have surgery. And then that was the last time he answered the phone. And then that was it. That was the only agent I had in North America. I was like literally one time there, done.
Really?
And then I make a call back to Toledo. And I'm like, hey, I just had back surgery. I'll probably be ready like November 1st. And they're like, oh yeah, you better come back. Let's go. I'm like, okay. And then that was it.
Agents were weird back in the day. I feel like nowadays when everybody's more open and people can find out more about agents, they're a lot better than what they used to be. But yeah, I had my tough goes with them too. Like I said, I never had one until I got like a big time one. And then when I ended up with the Daytona Beach Bombers, I don't think he really gave a shit about me anymore or cared anymore because he had big time players and I'm in Daytona Beach. And then when I said I should go to Germany, he's like, I disagree. You should play one more year in North America. And I'm like, to go to Pensacola and play in the coast and make like, and then like, he's like, well, it was like he just wanted to get rid of me because I wasn't, and I was like, well, I think I should go. And he's like, I don't think you should. And he's like, this is one of those times. And then we never talked again. Right. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. It was literally the only time I talked to this guy. I was like, hey, go to training camp. And he's like, okay. So I dropped all my stuff off in Toledo, go there. And then literally didn't hear another word from him until like, I finally was like, man, I tried calling you for like 3 months. Like I'm going to have surgery on my back. But the team was so good up there that they're like, Lamps, like, I know we can't. So at first I was on PTO. And then, so I basically was on 2 PTOs up there. They can only go 25 games and you can only sign 2 of them. But they said, hey, we know you have a kid at the time. They said, hey, soon as we have a place, we'll get you in a place. We'll fly your family up here, but we'll keep you on a PTO for the 50 games just so we can still pay for your housing, but we promise like we won't release you or won't do anything. So the St. John's franchise was great. Like they kept their word. They
That's
were
awesome.
unbelievable to the wives and girlfriends. So nothing but respect, like for the way they ran the franchise.
Well, I think it's really cool that you're 5 years into pro and you finally get a full AHL season, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's grinding it out, man.
Yeah. It was grinding.
Okay, we better keep going though, because we got to get back to stuff. Apparently, we get along and we can chat. So after that year, the AHL season, you go back to Toledo, and you guys were awesome then. And you have that Ferk guy that can shoot the puck really hard, it looks like, and Shane Birchback, former Bronco.
You know what? Like every time this guy shoot the puck, we just laugh, and he'd fucking laugh too. Like he'd take one time after practice and just be like, like he had this
that
check,
Ferk,
funny ass laugh, Ferk, and he just called it the Ferk bomb, dude. He'd be like, just all the fan, like he 70 flex stick and would just wire it. But I would try to tell this guy, because at the time he was pretty fast too, and I'm like, man, you have a weapon. Quit skating the puck through the neutral zone. Get open. Guys will find you. If you don't turn the puck over, you play in the NHL for the next 10 years. You know, like you're trying to explain this to a guy. I'm like, you're Brett Hull. Go watch clips of Brett Hull. You know what I mean? Go watch.
But he also had the skill to carry it through, and then he's the passer, because once you carry it through, you're the passer.
Exactly. You know, you're like, you figure out a way to just get open, right? Like you have a weapon, you have this, like minimize your time with the puck and, you know, maximize your way to get shots off, you know, like, so, and he figured it out, you know what I mean? Like he never really stuck, but like he had a couple full seasons in the NHL, you know? Yeah. So like figured it out more than most, and especially then, but you just like, when you have an absolute just weapon of a shot that's ridiculous, like, you know what, you find a way to put yourselves in positions that help you and minimize positions that hurt you, you know? So
you got to know what your strengths
are, and you do them better than anyone else, you know?
And if you got something that's world class, you got to use that.
Yeah.
Right?
And Shane and Birch, I think, was a rookie at the time, and you know, or maybe it was his second year in the league, because he played maybe the year before and they didn't have a lot of success in Toledo the year before, but he's a world-class East Coast Hockey League player too. Like he would have had an unbelievable career in Europe. I tried to get him to come over to get his passport in Bremerhaven. He refused to do so, you know, ended up being, which is great for Toledo, because, you know, he played there.
He could have got his German pass.
Birchbach, you kidding me? Bremerhaven, man, you bet you get with a German, if you got with a German girl like 10 years ago on a random Wednesday night, you could have got your German pass.
Yeah, well, that guy can play by the looks of things. But so speaking of you though, that last year in the coast, you were plus 29 and had 30 points, and you played in 21 playoff games. So you lost in the finals.
Lost, yeah.
To who?
Who we lose? No, sorry. We played 21 playoff games. We lost in the conference finals of game.
Played three best of sevens.
Three best of sevens. Yes, and we were down 3-0 in that conference final and came all the way back, and then
to lose a game
1-0 at home in like double overtime.
Oh, yuck. That's brutal.
I think it was to South Carolina. Then they lost to Allen, I think, in the final. Yeah.
It was Trevor Hendricks, probably, that punk. Okay. Yeah. So then the decision to go to Germany is then you got your bad back. You lost control of the bowels. I've done it too. I actually felt healthy. I was healthy. So I was healthy then that year. So because after my American League year, I got healthy. Oh, it's the American League that, then you ran amok in the coast your last year. That's right.
Felt healthy, felt this, but I was getting ready to hang them up, you know, because I was like, I don't know.
There's nowhere else to go unless you go to Europe.
After having years like this, and you know what, like I had my kind of, you know, I think I was 29, you know, it's like I'm 29, you know, what am I going to do? And I got a second kid on the way, you know, it's like, it's shit or get off the pot. Like it's time to make a move, you know? So and I got a call from Zabs and was like, hey, you're doing this already in the summertime.
And
Let's make it full time.
Bremerhaven reaches out to you.
Yep. So they reach out to me and they said,
surprised David Amonte wasn't already on this, because he would have been one of those guys.
No. So they reached out to me, and then he reached out to me and became my agent.
Right. There you go. Yeah. Because he's a shed guy and he gives her, he works hard.
No, he does. And I feel bad because David was my agent going over here. Okay. So I was a little pissed at David first off, because at first I get to Bremerhaven and I love it. David's great, fucking awesome guy, but I asked him before I signed a 2-year deal, he got me a pass with it. Right. And I go, hey, is Bremerhaven, because it was after my first year, basically, I was then going to re-up for another year. So I had 2 more years instead of just 1, And I was like,
so you're an import the first year in Bremerhaven.
No.
You have your German pass in the second league?
I signed a thing and done. All I had to do was stay in Bremerhaven though. Like you have to sign a 2-year to be there. So you can't leave, but you got, but you get your pass. So, but I go, David, I said, hey, is Bremerhaven trying to go up to the first league? And he's like, yeah, they are, but they're not going to go up. So I signed an extension basically, because I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll give it 1 more year, chilling over here. Not really, we'll play in the second league, not really take a huge toll on the body, a year to chill. I'll sign good money for the second league, but terrible money for the first league if you're playing in there. But it's like, we're not going to the first. So then he's like, no, they're not going to the first league. Well, I signed the contract, and a week later, well, guess what? Bremerhaven's in the fucking first league now. And because Hamburg folded and they knew that, and I'm like, so is my contract void or anything? No, your contract's not void. You got to play it out. You got to do whatever, So
your second league contract went up to the first league?
Yes. It was a contract for any league. Didn't matter.
So then you got upset that you had that instead of making more going up to the first league.
Yeah, because I would have just had 1 year playing in the DEL and then so I would have been a free agent out, because you know how it works in Europe. You can sign extensions you can sign with other teams.
You can sign anytime. It is dirty,
so I was like,
dirty stuff.
I was like, perfect. Like I would have had this 1 year playing in the DEL, showing off for every team, and then I would have been free. But no, I had to come back. So anyway, I lead the league in points by a German defenseman in that first year
in the DEL.
In the DEL.
In the DEL, folks. The DEL.
Yeah. So
and then you couldn't sign a new deal.
No, I could, but it would have been for another, a year later. So basically, in the summertime, David, who is unbelievable, he was great, and but he just, I felt at the time, the
way that played out.
Well, not even that, but I just felt like he worked too much for Bremerhaven and not for me necessarily as much, So, and I had worked my whole life, and I've basically been on an internship, and I was like, I had 1 contract to hit it,
and you hit it.
And I needed I just like, David at the time didn't have any guys in the spots. So I felt that he didn't know what the market was, because he only had the guys in the Bremerhavens, the Krefelds, the Iserlohns, and I needed to know what the markets were in the Berlins, the Munichs, the Mannheims, because that's the only way that you're going to, by knowing, there's no cap geek or no disclosure of anything. Is the only way you know what guys are making is by having your agent sign those deals already.
Yes.
So I ended up having to part ways with him basically right before this. And it was the hardest, because he was the nicest, best guy. Always, anything that, from all the 8 things I heard about agents before, he didn't fit that mold. Like, he was great. He was great.
And that's what my history through agents and everything I went through was, he's the guy I wish I would have had grinding it out for me, because I felt
Exactly.
like there
Exactly.
weren't guys grinding it out for me. There weren't guys making the calls for me. And I
he
wish I would have had him.
And he changed my life. You know what I mean? Like, my kids are living in Germany right now as German, and are speaking 2 languages, like, realistically, because of David Imonti and Alfred Pry. You know, so he changed my life. And it was sad because he was kind of up and coming in a thing. And at the time, like, I had a big year, and it was like, I was kind of like one of the bigger horses, if not like the biggest horse in the stable at the time. And I couldn't gamble on whatever. So I moved on, and literally within 2 weeks, I had this Manheim deal in fucking November 1st. And it was like, oh, this is what I'm playing for, you know?
Exactly. And that's why everybody wants to go. And so you had that November 1st, and then you play for Bremerhaven that whole next year, and you got the confidence, you're feeling good, you know where you're going, you're happy, and you put up another 30 points.
No, I think I put 20. Maybe put up 20 points, but it was definitely, I was in a different role. Like, that first year, I think too, like, I got to play, I just remember the second year, I remember just like, I just played a little bit more defensive, a little bit more of this. I was kind of settling in to maybe like the role I was going to be playing a little bit more. And we had a little bit more offensive. It was our second year in the league. So we brought in a couple better imports, like, so I didn't have to overreach as much, you know what I mean? Or be relied upon to be like scoring as much, because we were able to bring in Chris Newberry. We were able to bring in, like guys that were like,
and then when you see like you're there with Bremerhaven in the second league, and then you see them go to the first league, and you see how different it becomes, right? And the people they're bringing in. Yeah.
So it was nice. Like I said, you're next year in the league, you're able to bring in different guys, and you don't have to, like I said, you can kind of play more your style, more this or whatever is asked upon. So like, that's what happened,
All right. And then you get to Manheim, and you have those years, and
So the other thing with Manheim that was wild was that I signed a contract, and so I was talking to Manheim, and then all of a sudden the coach gets fired. Okay. So coach got fired in like, maybe late October. And I'm like, oh shit, like, does this change? Like, maybe was it the coach that wanted me? Was the GM wanted me? And all of a sudden GM's like, nope, this doesn't change anything. We want you signed. So I'm like, okay, you're safe. Oh yeah, I'm safe. I literally signed a contract. The next morning, I wake up, news thing, GM was fired. I'm like, oh shit, call my agent right away. I'm like, was the ink dry? Like, was it in? Is it I'm like, he's like, hold on, let me check with the, yeah, contract's good. So at the time, I'm going through this whole time, I don't know who the coach is going to be. I don't know who the GM is going to be. I literally got signed by the GM, and how they let, like, the owner, it must have been the owner wanted me, because they still let him sign this contract knowing the next day he was going to get gassed,
Really? Yeah. And they would have known. Yeah.
Right.
They're letting him sign the deal, and then he's getting gassed the next day. But what's interesting then is your first year there, you guys win the championship.
So we win the championship, but I grinded that first year to like find my place there, because I wasn't brought in by anybody that was in the organization. So
and that changes everything.
So I was on the outside looking in. It was basically like I was part of the old guard, even though I never even played a game there.
Right.
So then I'm like grinding the whole year, and I get I finally like work. I was like a scratch for maybe like 6 straight weeks in November, and I'm like, man, like the money is like awesome, but I don't know, this is fucking tough. Like, I'm kind of like a shell of myself right now, because
when you're a hockey player and you play hockey and that's what you do and that's what you try to be good at, when you're not playing and you're not part of it
didn't matter how much money I was making, because it was like, man, I'm like,
doesn't matter.
Confidence is so low right now. Like, just making a pass feels hard in practice, and like eyeballs, you feel like every eyeball's on you, because if you're not perfect in practice, like, how the hell are you going to play in a game? If the team, and our team was so good, we didn't stop winning, right? So then, but then all of a sudden, like, something happens or whatever, and then I'm in the lineup and then once I'm in the lineup, like, don't let go of it. Last game of the season, I dislocate my shoulder.
Yeah.
Fucking against. So I'm like, oh my God, our team is so good. I just grinded so hard to be a part of, like, it's just not going to be the same. Like, I know we're going to win this championship. It's not going to be the same, like, not having like participated in this. So I'm grinding so hard to rehab and come back and do this. And I'm not like quite ready yet, but we make it to like game 4 of the finals. And Sinon, one of our defensemen, goes down, and they're like, hey, Lamps, you ready? Like, let's go. You're ready to go, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go. End up playing game 4, score the game winner, end up playing game 5, score in game 5, championship. And it was like, I got to party.
You
like
scored in both games?
both of them.
And you were a part of it.
And got to be a huge part of it all of a sudden. Like, and even though I was there in the room and I'm a big dressing room guy in this, but like, you know, just wouldn't have felt the same. You know,
I couldn't tell you were a big locker room guy. Yeah, couldn't tell.
Just would not be the same, you know. And then and it ended up working out, like all that kind of.
I couldn't imagine the way I am. I'm a locker room guy. I couldn't imagine being the guy that's injured. It was like when Bietigheim won the Pokal or whatever it's called, and I was injured for the final game. I had played every game up to the finals, but I didn't play in the finals. And then when they won it, I didn't really feel like I was, you know, it's like, it was different.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And you know what, like, you being a part of it the whole year, and then all of a sudden playoffs start and this, like, guys are almost talking to you in the locker room like you're already in the grave. You know what I mean? They know like they're showing you this like fake, like this, like, it's not fake, but they're like showing you like this sympathy, like how bad they feel. But then you're like, man, don't waste this energy on this. Like, we're all pulling the same, you know, it's like, dude, I don't need this. You know, I'm here to be I'm basically here to be a fluffer at this point. Like, I'll go cry into my pillow at home. I won't show it at the rink, you know, like, I'll fucking get you guys super hard here in the room, and then I'll go cry into my pillow at home.
I like your attitude, though. You're a team guy. You show up, you do your thing, and you give her. And then that's how teams win, though. You get the guys that actually cry at the rink and mope at the rink and don't show up and do what they got to do. Then that's when teams lose.
Well, that's the thing. That's being a professional. It's like, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. You put things aside, and you know what? You do what's best for the team. And then, you know what? Hey, your wife might not like you for that point in time, but she's the support system. She's the one that, if you're truly going to be successful, like, she's going to have to take it a little bit at home, maybe. And you know what? When you show up to the rink, like, you show up to the rink as a professional and with the same face on as if you're scoring a hat trick or you're not, you know, like, you're showing up at the same,
not too high, not too low. You just show up and you give her,
exactly.
and you're a teammate and you're there for everybody else, right?
Yep.
So you're there though for that year. You win it all. We got it. We talk too much. We should almost have another episode. Jesus Christ. So that Moritz Sider that played for the Red Wings, though, he was there that year you win it. He's quite the D-man, eh? I watched that kid play. He's hitting guys. He controls the play. He's doing her, eh?
He's an absolute stud. And I knew he was going to be that much of a stud because he's a 17-year-old kid, turned 18 halfway through the year, and he had a short leash on him. And this guy's mental attitude, like, he had a short leash, and yet, you know, coach would, like, because he was our 7th D-man basically the whole year. But then all of a sudden, the end of the year, he wasn't, like, he was more in the mix, got more trust, but still, like, if he made a mistake, like, coaches would sit him. And he didn't give a shit mentally. He just was like, never thought about that mistake again. You know, and that's what I knew he was, like, going to be a superstar.
And he would go
because that's the hardest.
So it's like if you do a brutal turnover, backhand, whatever.
How are your next shifts? How are your next games? Do those like the good players? They fuck up. They don't even let it affect them whatsoever. Right? It's like, but all of a sudden, average players, they'll make one mistake, and then all of a sudden they'll compound the problem because
and it just keeps turning into a bigger and bigger thing. And then all of a sudden,
this kid's 17 and 18 years old, and his mental game his confidence was already, you know what? Hey, these coaches don't want to play me right now. They're lost.
I find it very interesting, like the mental game, because when we were growing up, there was no mental game. There was mental abuse, I would say.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like,
right.
and now mental game is like, you got to think you're the best. And you actually do have to think you're the best, or you're not.
100%. You have to. If you don't think that way, then you're not. And that's just plain and simple. You don't have to tell everybody. Telling everybody makes you a prick. You know?
Exactly.
Tell yourself.
You got to do it to yourself.
Yeah.
You got to, when you're going to bed
100%.
at night, say, I'm going to do this. I'm waking 100%. Up the next morning and saying, I'm doing this. Right.
Yep.
I agree. Okay. So anyways, you do that though. You did your 2 years at Manheim, but did they not sign you for a third year?
No. All right. It's another story too. So basically when I
got to pee if you got to.
I know. Fuck. All right, last one. So I came in with the new GM and the new coach. When I got there, basically, like during that time that I was being scratched, the new GM was like, "Hey, if you want to find a new team, because I still had one more year on my deal, I signed a 2-year deal. He's like, if you want to find if you want to find a new team, go ahead." I'm like, "Fuck, like, all right." I'm like, so I call my agent. I'm like, "Hey, they said if I want to find a new team." He's like, "All right, well, they don't want you there." And this, basically I didn't come in with these guys. So I was going to go to Ingolstadt. I had a deal in place, whatever. And then all of a sudden the owner, I'm like, the GM's like, "Hey, the owner said that you weren't allowed to go." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They told me to find a new place. Apparently, like the GM didn't tell the owner or whatever. He's like, "No, you're not going anywhere." So I'm like, "All right, well, this is weird."
So the owner trumped it.
Yeah, the owner trumped it. And then end up finishing the season. It's all good. We win the championship, right? But I'm like, "Babe, do not buy one more thing for our house, because obviously we're leaving after this year." Within 3 weeks to start the new year, I get a contract extension for another year. I was like,
what a mental pretzel.
She's telling me the whole time. She's like, I'm like, "You're delusional." She's like, "Why wouldn't they sign you for another year? Like, why wouldn't they sign?" I'm like, "Babe, they just asked me to find a new team, and the GM like wanted me out of here, and then like got trumped, and then they have me for the year, and they can literally, it's man, they can sign anybody they want." I'm like, "We're not coming back." And then literally 3 weeks into the new season, we're meeting on the road, and agent calls. He's like, "Hey, they want to, GM just sent me a text. It said, 'Hey, let's talk about number 32. And I was like, I honestly thought, my agent calls like, no. I think he's talking about 33. Like, I think he's talking about 33. Like, what do you mean? He's like, "No, I think he just asked me about re-signing 32. I'm like, "I think he's got the wrong number. Like, he might be talking about 37 or 33. And then literally like that night, like on the road, I like go to his room. He's like, "So can we get this done?" He's like, "You want to be here another year?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Let's go." So I signed one more year, and then that was it. And my wife, like, she's always like, "Why do you even fight me on this? Like, I know all this shit, you know?" I'm like, "So you always fight me on everything, and like I'm always right." I'm like, "Yeah, I know you are." So it was you talk about like a wild like 6 months, you know?
It's crazy. But then in Europe, I've watched it. I've seen it happen. It's weird, like you say about the best players and they get over shit, is you can be in a town and you can see fans in Germany actually hate a player. They will boo, whistle. They hate them. Then they score a few goals, and then all of a sudden they like them. They score a few more goals. Then the guy's got confidence. Next thing you know, he's staying there. And it's like, they're a fickle bunch, the German fans.
Well, especially these places I play too. Like, I play in Bremerhaven and Mannheim when I go back with Straubing now. And, you always have those hardcore fans that like love you and do this. But all of a sudden, like, you talk about like, cause I play a hard game and I'm like in the mix all the time, just like fucking in the mix. Like someone's on the ice. Someone's on the ice somewhere. And the amount of fucking hate messages, beers thrown on me, like, it is wild, like, and just to think, like, the year before, like this guy would have let me bang his wife, you know? And then now, like, and then now it's like,
Now he hates you.
It's like I killed his dog, dude, you know? Like,
And it changes like that in Germany, man.
It's wild. It's
You
wild.
should
So,
have
like, when I
seen me
go
in
into other
Bietigheim.
rinks-
You should have seen me at Bietigheim when we won the championship, and they called me Mr. Brent Walton. And every time I went out, it was Mr. Brent Walton. And then 3 years later, because they have a shitty budget and they have brutal players, and we're not as good, and we are a bottom of the table team because that's what we paid for. And then all of a sudden, I apparently am not Mr. Brent Walton. I am a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's like, now you're fucking Mrs. Brent Walton, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
And they'll let you know that
no,
too.
No, but you know what? The things I don't understand about the German fans, like how they can like pretend to be so tough and then all of a sudden just scream about anybody touching the ice. You know, like soon as someone goes down on the ice, it's like you just jaywalked, you know, don't jaywalk, you know, like.
And they don't jaywalk. They won't do
what
it.
I mean. That's what
They
I
will
mean.
not
That's what
cross.
I mean.
They will
That's
not cross
That's
the
what I'm saying. That's
crosswalk
what I'm
on the
saying.
red
It's like,
light.
that's what I'm saying. It's like they just saw you do that. You know, it's like that's when somebody just
Oh
goes
my
on the
God.
ice. Like, they want to see consequences.
They do. And I'll never forget when there was a couple people that jaywalked, and I was like, why do you guys, like, they looking at them like they just killed somebody? I'm like, they walked across the road when there was no cars coming.
It's pretty funny. Pretty funny.
Oh my gosh, it's back to the real world. And this has been another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Lampl and Wally.